People have asked us, if someone has believed in Jesus' promise of everlasting life, and they have assurance of their salvation, but then they're living a subpar Christian life full of sin, maybe they're backsliding, and they still have assurance, isn't that false assurance of salvation? What do you think about that?
Well, the problem with that way of viewing assurance is it's telling people that assurance is found looking within, right? I need to look within myself and see how I'm doing. So it's not about Jesus. It's not about what Jesus promised. It's not about whether Jesus is faithful. It's about me and what I've promised and whether I'm faithful. Am I really following God? Am I really faithful? What I like to say is the key to knowing whether you are properly assured or not is the root, not the fruit. That is, if a person comes to you, Sean, let's say, and the person says, well, I am assured of my eternal destiny, but I've got some problems with my life. You can ask the person, okay, why is it you believe you're going to heaven when you die?
And if they say works, if they point to works instead of the promise, that's false assurance.
Right. But if they say, because Jesus promised it, John 3:16, John 5:24, etc., Ephesians 2:8 and 9, if they say because that's what God promises, well then it would be silly to correct them and say, no, wait a minute. No, you've got to live the life. Because now you're pointing him to works. Now it's not whoever believes in him, now it's whoever behaves in him. And the emphasis shifts from believing in him to behaving in him. And so what I would say is the opposite is the real problem, isn't it, Sean? Someone comes to you and they say, I'm really struggling with doubts about my salvation. I'm really not living the way I should live. I find that I'm pretty perfectionistic. I'm pretty neurotic. I'm afraid a lot. I've got lots of anxieties. And it just doesn't seem like a real Christian would have those things. Can you help me have assurance? Well, with that person, are we really going to want to say, well, you need to focus more on your works?
You really need to be less neurotic. You really need to work on yourself. No, not at all. I mean, God justifies the ungodly, okay? And so an ungodly person, they can't look to themselves for their assurance. The whole reason why they came to faith in Jesus is because they see themselves as ungodly. Our assurance is based on his promise, not on our ungodliness or our attempts at righteousness. If anyone comes to you and says, I think I'm going to heaven because I'm doing a pretty good job at life, that's false assurance.
Exactly.
That's false assurance. Not believing the promise, but believing in yourself, believing in your own works. That's false assurance.
So the key, I would suggest, for yourself or for anyone you're counseling, your children, your friends, your loved ones, if you're talking to them about assurance, point them to Jesus, who said, he who believes in me has everlasting life. Don't point them to themselves.